Fraud in Florida has become rampant. On today's video, we're going to look at some of the recent fraud arrests that we have seen in the state of Florida that highlight the things people are willing to do to live a life of luxury in the Sunshine State. Fraud in Florida in recent history has evolved from the emergence of criminal syndicates from other countries, but recently Americans are getting in on the action too. And while most foreign crime syndicates target companies, businesses, really what they consider to be faceless victims, the homegrown American scammers like to get up close, personal, and deceive you in your face. This is Mr. Deaton from Bonita Springs, Florida. This person pretended to be a pastor, becoming the legal guardian for elderly people that he swindled out of money and properties. There wouldn't be enough time on today's video to go over all the victims and charges that this man is facing. Allegedly, he would gain people's trust, pretending to be a pastor, having these people make him his legal guardian, becoming the executor over people's wills, and then keeping everything that the family's inheritance was supposed to distribute. This scheme targeted vulnerable elderly people. I know this mobile home park very well. Many times the family members only show up once somebody finally passes to ensure the inheritance, and many times they find the bodies when they start to stink. It's really sad what happens in these mobile home parks. The family members are just waiting for these people to pass so they can get an inheritance, and the neighbors are just trying to see how they can take anything off the top before the family gets to it. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of cases like this in Florida. This is just the first one to get unraveled. These Latvian nationals were arrested in Naples, Florida for an interesting scheme. They would steal gift cards from CVS's and Walgreens, reprogramming them to wire the money to their accounts that were linked into a criminal syndicate. They would carefully note the stores that they stole these gift cards from and then return them. When somebody purchased the cards, the money would be wired to their account. Now, these guys were probably not even legal in the United States because they didn't even have a valid driver's license. Their charges include no valid driver's license, fraud and swindle under $20,000, and public order crimes conspiracy felony. They're listed as being from Pompano Beach, Florida, but they would travel to Naples, Fort Myers, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville throughout the entirety of the state. During their arrest, law enforcement officers discovered 170 gift cards, each marked very carefully with the store it was stolen from, as part of the scheme included returning the gift cards back to the store so they could be purchased by victims. These Cubans right here from the Fort Myers area were working for a large construction company delivering materials. They've worked for the company for many years. Their scheme included making deliveries for a large company and then having the money transferred to their accounts. I guess their scheme unraveled when a customer couldn't find the records for their transactions, so they would make the deliveries and charge for the deliveries. The supplies were coming from the company they worked for, the money got wired directly to them, and there was no record of these products disappearing. According to a news report from the Fort Myers areas, the Lee County Economic Frauds Unit discovered that this happened on 106 instances. They were able to steal $1.2 million from this company, and they found $400,000 in cash at a Lehigh Acres property when they conducted a raid. The monetary value of these economic crimes in Florida is staggering. These people are not stealing small amounts of money. They're stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even millions, only so that they can live a lifestyle of opulence in South Florida. This is Alice. Now, she was arrested in Naples just a few days ago for passing counterfeit bills and also for grand theft over $750. Counterfeit bills have become a huge problem in Naples, Florida recently, with various arrests for this charge that isn't very common in other places. To live a lifestyle of opulence and luxury in Naples, Florida, it seems that some people are just quite literally printing money. This is a huge racket right now in Naples, Florida. So far, all the arrests that I have seen for this particular crime are U.S. citizens. So while foreign nationals are stealing the money, U.S. citizens are quite literally printing the money. And let's not forget, with the prevalence of fraud and scamming in Naples, Florida, people printing money, credit card fraud, all these crimes that are emerging out of Naples right now, these aren't people trying to feed their families and pay the bills. These are people that are living in one of the most expensive cities in the United States, driving luxury vehicles, eating expensive meals at beachside restaurants. These are people who are living at large a lifestyle that's completely unsustainable to the working person at the expense of other people. These aren't people stealing to have food stamps for their little baby mama or something like that. These are people who are living a lifestyle of luxury and opulence at the expense of society. If they were just trying to steal like a normal thief to feed their family, it would almost be understandable. I mean, it isn't, but it would be more understandable. The notion that they're using these types of crimes to live this type of lifestyle just makes these people that much more evil, because they're not doing it out of necessity. They're doing it to pamper themselves. These are individuals who are willing to do anything it takes to be rich. Now, in society, we look down on people who steal to have food. These people here are stealing so they can have an abundance of luxury, so they can have an Instagram account of being a world traveler, so they can post up pictures at exotic places and staying at luxury hotels, eating expensive meals, driving exotic vehicles. I mean, the shameless luxury of these people is unmatched by anything else. So the lifestyle that these individuals live off of the rackets that they run on society, simply so that they can be in this little enclave of wealth in Naples. It seems that in order to live this particular lifestyle, some people are willing to do whatever it takes. They don't care about the integrity of the American currency. They don't care about the future of elderly people. Anybody is fair game. And the saddest part, it isn't out of necessity, it's out of sheer greed. Think about the gift card racket. Individuals, when they buy a gift card, it may be for a friend's wedding, it may be that a friend of yours is sick in the hospital, it may be that somebody suffered a tragic loss and you're trying to comfort them. Taking advantage of those situations, there's just no ethics to these people. And then they get arrested on one or two charges, but you see the houses where they live, the cars they drive, the lifestyle they're living, and there's more victims out there we'll never know about. Now, in the case of Naples, Florida, where these types of crimes are prevalent, law enforcement is not very proactive about targeting the rich, wealthy demographic or scrutinizing their activities. They're mostly focusing on police profiling. Hispanics without a driver's license, anybody who looks out of place based on their race. But that's police profiling for you. Individuals who are practically doing nothing are constantly being scrutinized by law enforcement simply because of the way they look or their nationality or race, while the individuals who are running up big, wealthy rackets have free reign to do whatever they want. And then you have the stupidity of public opinion in general. People are angry about illegals working on a roof in the sun. The same people who think nothing of these people living a lifestyle of luxury at the expense of everybody else in society. This is Anne. She was arrested in Naples, Florida recently. Now, she had a warrant out of Pinellas County, that's the St. Petersburg, Clearwater area. She was obtaining property with a worthless check. Naples, St. Petersburg, coastal, beautiful places to live. I'm sure there's a lot of people in other states who wish they could afford to live down here. They just don't have the money to do it. This is Jake. He was arrested in Naples, Florida. His charges include tampering with evidence and giving false information to a police officer when being arrested or detained. Now, that's a fairly common charge, and a lot of times people don't think about small little things like that, but fraud and impersonation is fraud and impersonation. Whether you're doing it on a small scale or a large scale, it seems that in general, a lot of people today just don't have any respect for the rule of law in general. Like Katie out of Naples, Florida. She has an extensive criminal record in Corler County. Her most recent arrest includes credit card fraud, fraud and impersonation of somebody's ID without consent, and larceny. Now, the use of fake IDs has become very prevalent. Sometimes people use it so they can buy alcohol out of age. Other people just like to present their fake IDs to law enforcement, thinking that if they get arrested, they can get out or they won't ruin their criminal record. These individuals actually believe that by presenting a fake ID to law enforcement, they're actually going to be able to get out of an arrest or the responsibility for their criminal charges. To some people, using a fake ID may not seem like that serious of a crime, but some of these individuals are so bold that they even think they can get out of the consequences of their legal actions by giving a fake ID to law enforcement. This is Lisa from Naples, Florida. Now, she was arrested for having a false insurance card for a vehicle. Think about that, a false insurance card. She also had more than 2 valid Florida's driver's licenses. Just think about the notion of somebody sitting around and devising a fake insurance card and having fake driver's licenses. This is an individual who's clearly just trying to cheat the system, perhaps driving around without proper insurance. And once again, she's doing it to live in Naples, Florida, a place of luxury and opulence. She's not doing it out of necessity or because she can't afford auto insurance. No, she's trying to cheat the system. She wants to live in a fancy beach town in Florida, the most exclusive place there is to live, at the expense of other people in society. To some of us, a fake driver's license or perhaps a fake insurance card might not seem like the worst crime in the world, but the individuals that start off doing things like this eventually graduate to other types of economical crimes that put everybody else in society at risk. The emergence of these types of economic crimes has happened recently in Florida. Law enforcement is focused on the arrest of homeless and undocumented people, and this has left the window wide open for individuals who want to focus on financial crimes. Law enforcement in Florida is currently the worst paid of all in the United States and Canadian states as well, with the most underpaid staff of law enforcement in anywhere in the United States. This means that the types of highly paid and highly trained officers that are required to execute these types of crimes don't exist in Florida. That is why the state of Florida has become the capital of scamming and fraud in the United States. Underpaid, undereducated, unskilled law enforcement leaves criminals that are focusing on economic crimes with a lot of opportunity, knowing that the state of Florida is focused on criminal activities that derive from police profiling versus from proactive law enforcement. This is Mr. Rana. He was arrested in Naples, Florida for conspiracy to commit fraud. He also had charges of scheming and defrauding and fleeing and looting from law enforcement. This individual convinced a man in Naples, Florida to give him $2 million in exchange for gold. Eventually, the victim figured out that he was not going to receive any actual gold and that he was out of $2 million. When law enforcement went to make the apprehension, the individual decided to flee. If you saw the dates of these arrests as I posted these articles and reports from bookings, you'll notice that these are all recent arrests. Just on March 7th, the story of a Naples man, Mr. Peterson, and his scheme was unraveled. He was taking advantage of families that needed to have hurricane damage repair and scamming them out of money. Just like many of these other cases, the victims are likely countless. He was arrested for impersonating a contractor during the state of emergency aftermaths of a hurricane. Grand theft of more than $100,000. Now, he lived in a luxurious home in Cape Coral, Florida. From satellite images, you can tell that he has a very large boat, a double lot for the property that's very well landscaped, as well as an extremely expensive high-end Maybach Mercedes-Benz. On a local news report, a family claimed that they gave him $13,000 for hurricane damage repair that he never did. He didn't deliver materials. He always had excuses. All this luxury lifestyle he was living in Cape Coral was at the expense of families who gave him money to repair their hurricane-damaged homes. He faces another charge for defrauding property over $50,000. So the charges and allegations against this individual are racking up steadily. This individual lived a luxurious lifestyle in Cape Coral with vehicles, boats, and properties at the expense of all the victims that he was leaving defrauded throughout Southwest Florida. I recently had a video flagged from YouTube and removed for showing you guys the property attached to the arrest record. Apparently, YouTube doesn't want you to do that because it's some sort of doxing, but it really wasn't my goal to dox people. I just wanted to show you guys the lifestyle that these people are living at the expense of the crimes they are committing upon society. But you're just going to have to take my word for it since I'm not allowed to actually show you. One of the two Cubans earlier in the video lives in a gated community in Fort Myers, landscaped golf courses, all of that. These individuals are living, again, lifestyles of luxuries based on a life of economic crimes. We all enjoy living in Southwest Florida. Warm weather, tropical vegetation, great beaches, and a vibe that's almost unmatched to anywhere in the United States. But for us trying to enjoy a beautiful lifestyle here in Southwest Florida, we're getting victimized by people who want to live this lifestyle but don't have this budget. With law enforcement officers in Florida having the lowest pay of all 50 states, and law enforcement focusing on detention of migrants and homeless people, that leaves the rest of us in society vulnerable to criminals who are actually targeting people like me and you, coming after our houses, properties, and even the way we inherit and live everything we've worked for. It's very concerning to me, the increase in fraud that we are having in Florida. And not only that, but how deprived some of these individuals have become in order to obtain the funds to live the lifestyle that they want to live, a lifestyle that their occupations and career decisions can't afford. The system of the ultra wealthy in Florida is also culpable in this situation, and that these individuals who are extraordinarily wealthy want to pay the working class people in Florida as little as possible, even going as far as lobbying to ensure that laws and regulations that take effect in the state of Florida make life harder for the working class person, allowing them to get away with paying us, the regular people, even less than what's already existing. This U.S. citizen of Hispanic background was arrested in Charlotte County for commercial dumping over 500 pounds, which is a felony in the state of Florida. Many crimes like this that destroy our communities and our environment are because of individuals who are working but are not being compensated enough from the people they're working from. Thus, they're tempted to dump the garbage in the woods somewhere versus paying a small fee at the landfill. This all derives from the fact that individuals are working jobs like construction and they're getting paid so little that instead of taking the garbage to the landfill accordingly, they dump the garbage just to save a few $40 or $50, which may not be a lot of money in the larger scope of things, but to somebody who's starving and working like an animal in construction in Southwest Florida, for them $40 or $50 may make the difference in taking that risk and committing a felony over $40 or $50 that it would cost to take this garbage to the landfill. And it all stems from the fact that these ultra wealthy people are paying the regular working class people of Southwest Florida practically breadcrumbs for the work that they do. They're definitely able to afford it. If they can afford their luxurious multi-million-dollar mansions on beaches, they can certainly afford to pay the people of Southwest Florida enough money so that they don't have to engage in these types of shameful criminal activities over insignificant amount of money. But individuals who become accustomed to breaking the law of necessity are sometimes the same types of individuals who will commit larger economical crimes if given the opportunity. Now, this last individual lives in a mobile home park that's very impoverished in the Fort Myers metropolitan area. Most likely, he wasn't being paid enough for the job and did that dumping to make some extra money. He couldn't afford to take it to the landfill. But the rest of these people on today's list, if you see their directions where they live and the type of lifestyle and neighborhoods that they're living in and the types of properties that these individuals have and vehicles and lifestyles they're living, all of that is just pure opulence. Things they don't need, things they want, all that at the expense of all of us in society. These are just some of the economic crimes that are taking place. We're only looking at a microscopic level. We're looking at the Naples area. Imagine if you were just to zoom out throughout the entirety of the state of Florida. And again, why do you have all of a sudden all this fraud in the state of Florida? Our police officers are the worst paid in the country. Our teachers are the worst paid in the country. Our income versus cost of living ratio is now the worst in the country. Even states like California and New York that are more expensive have higher incomes to compensate for the cost of living. The state of Florida has become an Alabama or a Mississippi when it comes to wages, but at California when it comes to cost of living. And every single day when we look at the news, we see a new law in the state of Florida that makes life easier for the rich and infinitely more difficult and complicated for the poor working class people. Every single day they find ways to continue to push us, the regular people, out of Florida because they don't want us here. They want to exploit us, but they don't want us here. We've seen people who have lived in Florida for decades now have to move to other states like Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama because they can't afford the cost of living in the state of Florida. I've met people who's paying more now in insurance for their properties than they are for mortgage. I've met people who worked their entire lives to retire in Florida, and the increase in homeowners insurance has driven them out of the state of Florida. And the increase of insurance in the state of Florida, a lot of times, whether it's car insurance, home insurance, or any other type of commercial insurance, is derived from the fact that there's so much fraud in this state that it drives up the cost of insurance. One way to deter that problem would be to have higher paid law enforcement officers, better economic crimes units that can go after these types of individuals that are driving up the cost of insurance through their criminal activity. But unfortunately, what the state of Florida does is that instead of focusing on the things that make life easier for the rest of us, they focus simply on catering to what makes them the most money, the rich people, and what makes us, the poor people, more vulnerable, thus more easily exploitable. And then they keep selling this dream of coming to Florida to other idiots who didn't learn the lesson from us, that the ones that are from here can't afford it, so they come over here and they become the new guinea pigs. Every day there's a new gimmick to convince people of why they should move to Florida. Yet the ones that are from here can't afford it. Fraud has become a serious concern for us, the residents of Florida, and it's continuing to worsen. It's not going to get any better. The state of Florida seems to be looking the other way when it comes to these types of crimes. And unfortunately, the price to pay falls on me and you. Higher homeowners insurance, higher vehicle insurance. It's become literally impossible for the working class person in Florida just to be able to sustain a living income. The fact that the state of Florida has become so difficult and so expensive to manage has also driven a lot of people to start committing economical crimes. After all, if you were to try to work in the state of Florida, you'll never make enough money to live. People are kind of tempted into living this lifestyle of crime and economical crimes simply to subsidize their living, because if you were trying to make an honest living in the state of Florida, you couldn't do it. There's a lot of other states out there where you can make a comfortable living, where you can make enough, where the rules are aimed at making things more easy for the regular working class person. But in the state of Florida, the rules are aimed at making life impossible. And this drives a lot of people to commit economic crimes because they feel that if they were just trying to make an honest living, they could never make it. And the cost of living in Florida isn't getting any better. The cost of insurance isn't getting any better. And the rules and regulations that come into effect every single day continue to make life a living misery for the people of Florida. So how do you expect people not to become fraudulent piece of craps when trying to make an honest living isn't enough to take care of your family? And again, the crazy thing is that it's all by design. Other states that are poor and have less resources are able to create an economical situation where the average person can make a decent living. You don't see people in other states doing these things. Why are people in Florida doing this so often? Well, it's because it's almost impossible to make a freaking living here. You work so hard in the state of Florida, much harder than other places. Take Southwest Florida. Did you know that the average commute for somebody in Lehigh Acres, Florida is higher than somebody in New York City? This is how difficult life has become for the regular working class person in Florida. And that doesn't excuse these people's behavior, but it highlights the reason why these types of crimes have become so prevalent in the state of Florida. On today's video, we weren't even able to touch on credit card theft rings, fuel theft rings. Real estate fraud has become a huge thing. We're not even getting into all of the nitty and gritty of how many types of frauds are becoming prevalent in Southwest Florida. Right now, there's also a batch of people that are cashing fake checks at banks over $50,000. They just arrested a guy in Naples, Florida with a South Carolina address who was trying to get homeless people to cash large checks for him. Now, the homeless person went into the bank and I guess he snitched the person out. They kind of grabbed the homeless person and tried to force that guy to cash these large checks for him. Credit card theft has become a huge issue in Florida. You still have credit card theft rings that are linked into Cuban crime syndicates, which are also linked into the theft of large, heavy equipment. There really wouldn't even be enough time on today's video to elaborate on all the different types of fraud schemes that are going on right now in the state of Florida. There are just too many. I think in the future, I'm going to try to deliver you guys some videos about the credit card and field theft rings, as well as the real estate fraud. But for now, this should just give you a taste of some of the things that are happening in the state of Florida. It's really a sad situation. And as always, this is just my personal opinion, nothing more. And these individuals are supposed to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. So that's up to the court systems to decide. All I'm doing is reporting to you some of the recent arrests that we've had in the state of Florida.